Ernie Humphrey, the CEO of Treasure Webinars. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today, The Human Side of AR Communication, Collaboration, and Professional Development. Really excited about our topic today. I would like to thank my thought leadership partner for today's webinar, Esker. They also share my commitment to impacting the professional success of those who use their software, which is obviously extremely relevant given the soft side of our topic today. A few housekeeping items. One, you'll notice that we have a new user interface for GoToWebinar after many years. So thank you, GoToWebinar. So please chat. There's a chat area there. We also have some reaction areas for you to share your reaction, thumbs up, thumbs down with what you're seeing. So excited to see that. Also wanted to get back on camera for my webinars, especially since we can now have backgrounds there. And I know everyone misses my sport coats. So I don't want to deprive people of my sport coats as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. A little bit about our journey today. We're going to start out with several areas of AR communications. I've done survey work that was sponsored by Esker to really look at the lay of the land, but also some friction points and opportunities to improve relationships, which will impact AR success. And this all fits in with the human side of AR as well. We'll touch on the art of relationship building, which we really don't get enough of. And in today's world, AR and Treasury professionals have to collaborate with each other and across the enterprise to deliver value. And then of course, we'll talk about technology. We'll talk about the humanity of technology. Then we'll talk about AR professional development. And then, of course, we'll share with you some key inferences for our time together as well. Also forgot to mention, if you're interested in receiving a certificate of attendance or a copy of today's webinar presentation, please send an email to Ernie@treasurywebinars.com. Again, that's Ernie@treasurywebinars.com. All right, so what about AR communication? Let's start with internally. So of course, all right, let's see if we can motor on with our polling questions here today. So let's go ahead and launch our first polling question here. Just asking you to share with me if silos exist within your company's AR team. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell on you if you don't really want the people at your company to know that those silos exist. So what I'll be doing throughout the webinar is I'll be teeing you up with some polling questions, and then we'll take a brief moment to discuss what the results of the poll are from our audience here, but then we will also compare those results to those of what we see in the research again that was sponsored by my friends at Esker. So let's go ahead. I'm going to leave the polling question up for another couple seconds because you guys have been really on the ball with your answers. So that's awesome. So let's go ahead and just take a quick peek at the results. So we see 61% said yes, 26% said no, and 13% I don't know. 13% you should really take a look into that because it's really important. So we said 61% said yes. And from what I've seen, I'll show you the survey results, but from what I've seen in my conversations with AR professionals, CFOs, and other folks across the office of CFO, there are definitely silos that exist within AR teams. And so if those silos do exist, fear not, you are not alone. So we'll talk about how companies can go about really mitigating those silos, and then also show the impact for the investment, right, to investing in those silos. So let's go ahead and take a quick peek here at the survey results. So we said, we asked from the survey that again, AR Success Communication and Collaboration Survey, I partnered on with Esker. We had well over 250 responses to the survey. It was a US focused survey. We had companies really good across all sizes, really a little bit more tilted on mid-market and enterprise companies, and we had a good mix of job titles as well. So very excited to share the results with you. If you're interested in receiving a copy of the survey report, please just drop me an email and we'll get that over to you as well. So we asked folks, AR teams work in silos. We had 25% strongly agree, 38% agree, and then 20% neither agree or disagree. So what's really important to me is that only 17% of the people, right, could really disagree. So disagree or strongly disagree. So that's a lot. So I don't pick on my Houston friends, but Houston, we have a problem there. So the good news is that people are aware that these silos exist, and so that's step one. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into where they exist, and then the impacts of those, and start to talk about how we might mitigate those as well. On the right hand side of the screen, of the graph, just trying to give you a little bit of flavor of the type of deep dive that we do in the survey results. So again, if you're interested in the survey report, you'll be able to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the results and see where you stand. Depends on where you sit. So just kind of looking at it by company size as well. And so a couple things really kind of stick out if you look at the graph to your right. Uh, Mayor that. So we see in the mid market, we see a couple big jumps there, especially in the agree and strongly agree. So I think that's a little bit disturbing, and also disturbing because what I see is that technology adoption is actually stronger for the mid-market companies. So we would hope that companies would be leveraging technology to mitigate those silos. So interesting to see. So we also ask, what about the impact of silos on the AR success? So this is a big number here. 42% say it's significant. 47% say it's minimal, but it's still there, and 11% should say none. Well, the answer should all be none, right? So we really don't need to have silos in AR. Yes, we might have inherent barriers to uh, those silos existing. Most of what I see, I'll give you a preview. They're really based on technology, but even more than that, it's the culture. So that's something that we need to think about on our AR and treasury teams, especially the leaders, AR leaders, the treasury leaders. Do we promote a culture of silos existing? If so, why? So some of the main reasons that we see, I'll tee these up for you. Silos exist, no real reason. We have no incentive to collaborate, right? Why do we care? There's no joint accountability. So all those things together, any type of silo is going to create friction, not only with your efficiency in terms of AR processing costs, but it's also going to cause friction with your customers, which is going to potentially cause damage to the bottom line. And also, it causes friction internally within your AR team. And so, employee retention is really important right now, as all of you well know. So, that's something you need to consider as well. So, the news is that silos exist and they are impactful to AR success. So, that's something that companies and department leaders and even individual team members need to push for, having more investment there. So we're going to go ahead and hit you up with another polling question here. So again, weaving this into the content, from your perspective, in your company's perspective, which of the following has the largest negative impact on company success, AR success at your company? Again, I just want to point out, I'm happy to have some chat in the chat area. On other webinars I see welcome from whatever city, state you're in. I recognize a lot of you, so now I can see who's here. So I'm not going to call you out by name. I might do that later on. You can react as well. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Ernie, you're boring. Let's make it more exciting. And then so we see credit and collections, cash app and corrections, uh, cash app and credit, collections and deduction, or no silos exist. And so those of you that really aren't that really deep in the weeds on AR, you might not realize that there's so many different areas, right, where you can see these silos. So it's just something for you to think about. Let's say you're in treasury and you might be interacting with these folks, but what you might not know if you're in treasury is that these folks are impacting, right? One of the things that's really important, they're impacting customers, which is important, but they're also impacting the quality of those forecasts that you're getting as well. And they're impacting that bad debt expense, which nobody likes to see. And oftentimes, treasury is help managing the counterparty risk. So all these people could be impacting your department as well. So let's go ahead and end the poll here. Thanks everyone for taking a moment. I'll give you a few more seconds. Go ahead and click the button. If you're interested in receiving a certificate of attendance, you'll have to answer all the polling questions, of course. All right, it's not quite March Madness yet, but I'll start my basketball countdowns later on. All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the results. So what we see at the top is largest impact on success. What we see is credit and collections, Cash App and collections, Cash App and credit, collections and deductions, or no silos exist, which is pretty consistent with my last poll, which is nice to see. But one of the things that stood out to me here, and what stands out to me in my survey results, is that we see that it's kind of surprising, right? If maybe if you're not in Treasury or if you're in AR and not really vested in collaborating with your folks just yet, we see that one of the culprit in the silos is cash application. So that's one area where I see that people should do better at engaging Cash App, and Cash App should do a better job of engaging outward, and that can really add some friction to your process. One of the big things I like to say is when I was in Treasury, we helped manage counterparty risk. So somebody paid, we go in there, we look up, the company tries to make a big order. Oops, they're over their credit limit. Well, not really because they paid, but in the system it says that they are. So we go back and hold an order. Not good. So Houston, we have a problem on that. Sorry, the Houston reference. So again, just take a look at what we saw from our survey results. Again, we had over 250 organizations respond to the survey. So we see, again, same as on top as you guys in the audience, 26% credit and collections. But then we see, right, Cash App, Cash App, Cash App. So if we look at Cash App having the biggest negative impact, we got 38, we got over 50%. I think we need to do a better job of engaging Cash App and facilitating that collaboration if we are in leadership in the accounts receivable department. So that's interesting. Also be interested. I know we have a poll, but if someone sees experience, like in the chat area, if someone wants to share, yeah, I see that. I don't see that. I don't understand why. Or want to ask me questions, that's perfectly good. The chat's really a good way to do that. I know we have a questions area, but the chat area to me is more convenient. I can only keep my eyes on so many things at once. So again, existing silos. So silos exist. They exist across all of these different areas of accounts receivable. And I'll also tell you that I've also done research from the Treasury side. I asked Treasury and finance leaders for cash management silos, and I asked, do silos exist between AR and Treasury? And that number was somewhere around 30%. So that's another silo that we need to look at breaking down. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. All right, so let's get my mojo on with these slides. New UI, so it's never perfect. Ernie's never perfect. That's part of my brand, right? So what we asked, so impact on AR success with improved collaboration. So where is it that we could do better collaborating, where we would have the most impact? So Cash App and credits is a pretty big number. So take a look at that. Where you stand depends on where you sit. So some of the slides, the reason I share them is a little bit of benchmarking, but it also, I want to help you think about things. So you'd be thinking about the communication side, right, of AR. That's the human side. How do we communicate? How do we collaborate? What questions do I need to ask? I wonder if Cash App and Cash App and collections have that such a big impact, negative impact, or is that low hanging fruit? So there are a lot of different areas, where you can add value. You shouldn't say, my speech teacher is probably rolling over, in posthumously, whatever the right word is. So this is important too. So I like to dive in. I used to call myself the why guy. So causes, right? Oh, people are leaving. I guess I'm not as exciting as I thought, but oh well. But if I was in person, I know they would stay. Maybe they don't like my jacket. So causes of AR silos. Uh, this is really interesting to me. So I mentioned this before. Uh, Desperate systems, right? That different systems. That's 32%, right? There's our tech team. So at least 4 people think I'm funny. So I got some smileys going. I do stand up, so hopefully I'll get 5 smileys to make me feel better. So we have the different systems, right? But here's things that was, and also uh, not having not having access to the same data is in there. So that's a technology issue, but that's also a culture of collaboration. No real reason, 20%, right? We are not expected to collaborate, 20%. That's just, to me, that makes no sense. So that's 46%, right? So 46% of folks, they have no incentive to collaborate. So that culture of collaboration is somewhere where we can remove those silos. And so technology, what technology allows us to do, allows us to deliver visibility, right? So everyone just communicating, everyone knows what's going on, helps us identify the bottlenecks. And we'll talk more about communication and collaboration as we talk about uh, how AR communicates outside of the AR team. So just to keep these things in mind, do silos exist? Am I part of the silos? What can my boss do? What can I do to help mitigate those silos? And then part of that, it, being able to mitigate those, is just the communication side. What is a culture of collaboration? We will dive into a little bit later. Dr. Phil going to talk about how do you actually collaborate? What's the art of collaboration? You have to communicate to collaborate. So what about communication with your customers, which I'm on my soapbox uh, all the time about? So whether you're in AR or treasury, is extremely important. We don't want to cause any any friction with our customers. So in order to help tee up my conversation with you guys on that topic, we'll go ahead and launch a poll asking you if each communication from your AR team with your customers has a purpose. Also want to remind you, if you're interested in receiving a certificate of attendance for today's webinar, you'll have to answer all of the polling questions. Also, after the webinar is over, we have a very, very brief poll, just a couple questions. Always want to see how we can do better. And also, I forgot to put it in the poll, but you guys comment on LinkedIn, share with me on my follow-up emails. Let me know if you like the new UI, whether you like my jacket, whether you like the camera on or camera off, if you like my logo, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and leave the polling question up for a few more seconds. Then we'll go ahead and take a quick peek at those results, and then we'll compare those with the survey results, and then we'll dive in a little bit more. Again, the whole focus of the survey was about communications. So it's interesting to see some of those results. I've never seen a survey focused on that. So hopefully folks find that interesting and are interested in the full survey report. So let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the results. So we have 77% say yes. So that's great. I don't know. That's a great question to ask. The question would be, why not? And they should. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So that's the homework there. And no, again, my question is, why not? Otherwise, you're creating friction with your customers, maybe unnecessarily. You may be creating friction with a customer your sales team doesn't know about. You can lose business, and that'll also increase your bad debt expense. So just food for thought there. All right. So just some survey results. Each communication with a customer has a purpose from AR. It's good to see 84% of their survey respondents said yes. And then we see on the right again, just some more results based on a company size as well, mid-market enterprise as well. So again, where you stand depends on where you sit. So again, at the mid-market, we see a little bit of emotional intensity. I say strongly agree or disagree. But again, just to take that look, we also can dive in as much as somebody would like on industries as well. So if you're interested in something like that, please go ahead and reach out to me. So one of the things is it needs to have a purpose. right? It also helps if there's a reason code, so we can analyze the communications, and we should also be analyzing if the communications are effective. So I believe each communication should be documented, and it should have a purpose, and people should be tracking whether or not that purpose was met from that specific goal. And in doing that, we should manage the number of communications that we have with a customer. So survey results, half the folks, so they say they do that with every customer. 34% say only with certain customers. I would imagine those are with the big customers after they reach a certain threshold. I would argue that you should do that for each and every customer. Each and every customer is important. If you only do it with certain customers, why is that? Now we have automation and technology, which should make that an easier process. And then if you don't pay attention to those communications just because somebody is not a big high dollar customer or has a history of not paying, that's, to me, that's absolutely the wrong philosophy. Being more mindful in your communications is going to help mitigate your bad debt expense and help manage your counterparty risk for your company as well. So ask people again on the communication, do you manage the number of communications from their AR team? 74% say yes. So again, my advice is we should be managing the number of communications. Each communication from AR should have a purpose. It should be classified, and there should be metrics associated with it. And we should not hide those communications from our sales team. We'll talk about that later. All right, communication with sales. So, all right, polling question time. Everybody's excited for polling questions. All right, let's go ahead and launch our next polling question. Asking you to share, do you agree that your AR and sales teams collaborate effectively in managing customer relationships? Whether your motion, strongly agree, kind of neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree. Leave the polling question up for as many seconds as it takes for folks to go ahead and share with us their thoughts. Again, love to see some chat. Maybe that'll happen a little later as people get used to seeing that in my webinars. Love the reaction and some laughter at my attempt at humor in finance, treasury, and AR. Hopefully, I could add humor there, because otherwise, my side gig of being a stand-up comedian someday, that's going to be over. All right, so let's go ahead and share the results here. So we see strongly agree. That's 59%, right? And then we have neither agree or disagree, 30%, disagree, strongly disagree. So we'd like to see everyone at least agree. So the way I take this, as we need a lot of companies, you could probably use some work on that, and it's something worth investing in. And even if you're in treasury, this is somewhere where you need to have that conversation. At the end of the day, this is about managing cash, optimizing all of your cash movements. So keep that in top of our mind. 59% they agree or disagree. So let's go ahead and close the poll and take a look at the research here. So from the survey results, we have 32% strongly agree and 45% agree as well. So a little bit higher there. Again, just a little bit more of a deeper dive into by company size. Nothing there really sticks out to me all that much. Of course, we have some dips in disagree or strongly disagree. I would expect to see better collaboration at companies that have invested in AR related technology. And again, from my research, I see that adoption taking place more in the middle market compared to the enterprise and smaller size companies. So here's the both sides of the communication issue. So I like to look at it. So communication should be a two-way street. Love the hand gestures. All right, so AR communicates with sales when customers are paying late. Always is good. Usually is okay. Sometimes, rarely, never. So I think it's important that AR and sales are aligned in managing customer relationships. So AR should be communicating, or sales should be aware when customers are paying late. in most organization, sales professionals are assigned to certain accounts, so it's good for them to know if their customers are paying late. And then sometimes, and you can collaborate and have your sales guy reach out with a soft touch and find out if there's a reason for the payment being late. So it's not necessarily, I would start out with, hey, you're late. When are you going to make the payment? It would be like, hey, John, the A and B company, they're paying late. Do you know if there's something going on with their company, with their organization? When are they going to pay? So you can help mitigate issues. You can help uh, mitigate friction as well. And then on the other side of it, does sales communicate with AR when deals are closed outside of standard payment terms? Always 26%. Usually, again, we'd like to see always. So, so that really helps AR and what to expect. So on the invoice, it says, or your standard terms, a net 30. The sales guy makes a deal. You don't have to pay for 60 days. And then what happens? Oh, AR doing their job. Oh, that invoice is late. Hey, where's my money? And then the sales guy gets a nasty gram from the customer saying, we agreed with, I can't remember the name I used. We agreed with John. So why are you bothering us about payment? Customer friction, customer problem. Eventually you can lose business because you don't have a consistent message with your customers. Each and every customer matters. Those relationships matter. For you as an AR professional or treasury professional, you need to know how to communicate effectively, especially with your customers. It's very, very important. So again, both sides of the relationship, and the other side of that, especially note for my treasury people out there, is when deals are getting closed outside of standard payment terms, what is that doing? It's messing up your working capital optimization. It's messing up your counterparty risk. It could be that your standard payment terms, you need to take a look at those, but also you have parameters other than with a specific client. It could be currency, it could be country, it could be industry. And if people are closing deals outside of your payment terms or your credit policy, then that's going to have a huge negative impact on your bottom line as well. So that's some of the reasons why these issues of communication and collaboration are extremely important. So on the other side of it, again, I spilled the beans a little bit too much. Credit policy is understood and followed by all AR and sales team members. 31% strongly agree, 45%. It's good to see that people say that they agree with that, right? They should all be understand it, and they should all be applying for it. It should be enforced. If there's overrides, that should be documented. So credit policy aligns with sales team's actions. Only 59%, right? Say yes. The credit policy should be aligning. The sales team should not be closing a bunch of orders that don't align with the credit policy, right? That is against your company's tolerance for risk. It's going to impact your bad debt expense. It's going to impact the bottom line. So we should make sure AR and Treasury both, your credit policy is aligning with your sales team's actions, how many orders are falling outside of those and why, and they should not be falling outside of those. This is a slide that's pretty disturbing to me, and this is something I would ask internally. And as a treasury or AR professional or anyone on those teams, this would be disturbing to me if I saw the numbers over here anywhere above 5%, let alone more than 20%, or you have no credit policy. Percentage of orders that fall outside the credit policy. Less than 5% is only 23% of companies. 6 to 10%, 11 to 15%, 27%. So at least 11% or more, 42%, 5%, 20% or more. But what's the purpose of the policy? The policy should have a purpose, right? It should be aligned with your company's strategic goals. We need to make sure that sales are falling within our credit policy. Now, I know we need to make our numbers, we need to do that things, but we need to at least document when these exceptions are made and why. And maybe we need to look at revising our credit policy, which is perfectly fine. But you should be looking at the orders. They're falling outside. Why are they falling outside? Who approved that? Did the market change? If the market changed, that's fine. If there's an exception, that's fine. Let's move the needle. but let's have that alignment, and also that education is important of the credit policy to all those involved, sales, right, and AR, why it's there, why it matters to them, why it impacts the strategy, and also in my mind, we should have a balance. Okay, your goal is this much in sales, but you get penalized, right, if you're closing deals outside the company's credit policy. So you get some credit, but it's mitigated because you're going outside the credit policy. And you can't say, I don't know the credit policy. And then we look at that by company size, not surprising. There's a little bit more control, obviously less than 5% on the small side, which is in gray. To me, small is measured in terms of number of employees. So that's less than 100 employees. Mid-market is 101 to 1,000, and enterprise is more than 1,000. So again, what's really disturbing to me is on the enterprise side, right? We see 11 to 15%, 27%, right? So we have over 50%, 50% of companies saying that at least 11% of their orders are falling outside of the credit policy. There should be more attention. That should be even more important. The larger your company is, in theory, and most times the larger your company is, the more risk exposures that you have, right? The more you should be looking at currencies, natural hedging. You should be uh, other types of risk as well, commodity risk, any type of risk that you want to have by industry, by currency, by a lot of other things. So the credit policy is very important again, and that's going to be related to your risk exposures, but it's going to impact your bottom line. And you can see some huge impacts on the bottom line, especially if you are using natural hedges and things are falling outside of your credit policy. You wait until that big number, you get some currency loss through your P&L, and that gets tracked down to a sales guy who thought he was doing awesome closing all these deals, which is good in some respect, but it created a bunch of risk exposure, hit the bottom line, cost us $200,000 when the sale was not even that, or if not more than that. So something to think about. So what about communication with Treasury? So we asked folks, do you collaborate with Treasury relative to working capital management? We saw a pretty good percentage, almost three-fourths of companies report that they collaborate with Treasury to optimize working capital. So that's something that we definitely would like to see from the Treasury perspective. Again, oftentimes Treasury is helping, if not writing the policies on standard terms, also on the credit policy, which is managing our counterparty risk. Also very important for the cash forecasting, managing our cash, getting predictable forecasts, and also mitigating that bad debt expense. So again, it's important for AR to collaborate with Treasury, and we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. If you have any questions about, hey, I work in AR, how do I approach Treasury? If I work in Treasury, how do I approach AR? I'm happy to have that conversation with you, because a lot of times people tell you to collaborate, but they don't tell you how to do it. So in this, along the same lines, AR collaborates with Treasury relative to the accuracy of receipts forecasts. I'm glad to see that 58% say at least agree. So I would like to see that be 100%. So I don't think there's any reason that should not happen, and that may be due to a silo. And this is a very bad silo, especially for the Treasury professionals who are managing that cash and managing the working capital and helping manage those risk exposures. So it's really important on that side. So AR people, Treasury should be more than willing to collaborate with you. And Treasury, maybe the AR team needs to understand the impact that their actions are having on the bottom line. Maybe they don't realize that. So what about the art of relationship building? So this is kind of we're getting into the Dr. Phil side, human side of this a little bit. So here's the build a relationship, no matter where you're trying to build a relationship across the office of CFO. So we saw silos exist within AR. They also exist within Treasury. I have research that shows that again. There are silos beyond AR, beyond Treasury with customers, suppliers, again, across the office of CFO. So you want to build those relationships. Here's the foundation of building a trusted relationship. You want to communicate your expectations. So whoever's an internal customer, AR or treasury, let's collaborate on the expectations. I really like to work with you. Is there any way you can help me do this? I'll help you do that. Align on expectations. And then ask each partner what they need from you. How can I be valuable to you? What can I do? For we're talking to treasury, AR say, hey treasury, what can I do for you to help make your job easier? Is there better reports? Can we collaborate on some treasury as well? Hey, AR, is there something I can do to help on your side? Do we need to talk about the credit policy? Do we need to talk about technology? Do we need to talk about um, in automation? So honest and authentic communication as well. Might take time for this, but let's all be honest. Let's Part of that is just what people understand, that we're in this together, right? I'm not just trying to make your life harder. One side doesn't have an ulterior motive. And then realign on your expectations often, right? As things change, right? Let's realign on expectations, especially you're doing an acquisition, you're going into new markets, your CFO is really focused on XYZ, these customers, these currencies, AI. Let's align on those expectations on how we can all support each other. And then I like to say that there's an art and science of collaboration. Communication leads to collaboration, which leads to impact, which impact means impacting your career success. So we communicate with people, right? We collaborate together with information, and then productivity, that's intelligence. We both gain intelligence from each other, which means we take actions which help us both deliver more value within and beyond our departments. So I have a webinar on effective listening. I will share the information with you a little bit later. You'll be asked when the webinar is over. If you'd like to attend this webinar, please share this webinar with all of your colleagues across your whole organization. This is something that's a big focus of mine this year, is soft skills, human skills, listening. Sorry, everyone knows I need help listening because I talk too much, but everyone can use this, especially managers. Managers can use this as well. It's a very easy thing to look at, a framework, how to be a better listener. Don't fear silence. See, I got you there. Probably the most powerful listener I ever had. I had a CEO. He was a very intimidating man, but what he would do is you'd be having a conversation, and he was not afraid to have silence. So he would get people to fill the silence. And so if you're not afraid to have silence, you can draw things out of people. So a lot of times people want to share, they're timid to share. If you just let that silence linger a little bit, you can draw these things out of people and gain trust. So a few things. Again, the webinar will go in much deeper. We actually have a few of my treasury professionals. I think one of them may actually be on the webinar today. We are going to talk about their assessments. They had an echo profile assessment of their listening. So we're going to go through that listening framework, and they're going to share what they have learned in terms of effective listening and see if they've been able to apply those lessons as well. So I'm really excited about that as well. So effective listening, remove distractions, empathize, be patient, ask questions more, listen to the tone, right? Try and pay attention to the nonverbal communication. And you're also listening on this webinar, or you're at any time that you are on a video call, right? You should pay attention. Someone bowing their head, are they blinking their eyes, are they doing this, are they doing things? So just pay attention to that. Effective listening is the foundation of communication, collaboration, impact. So investing in relationships, we talked about this. Listen, listen, listen. Learn the professional languages of your colleagues. So if you want to talk to AR and you're in treasury, go, if you don't already know, look at their metrics, look at their acronyms, look at their terms. How do they discuss things? Learn their professional language. Same if you're going to talk to sales. This works. Ask people about their biggest work challenge. Now, no one will admit it. Everybody likes to complain. They do. So, hey man, I had a hard day at work, but we were doing XYZ. Just, what are some things that really bother you? And then guess what's awesome? You might be able to help them, right? Solve their work challenges. And if there's some bad news that comes, communicate that proactively. So let's say you're in AR and somehow something happened and they close this big deal, and it's like, oh, treasury, you know what? I think that this big deal, this transaction is looming, or it's going to come. This might cause a problem on your side. Can you let me know how to do that? Oops, somebody from my AR team, they sent a really nasty email to one of our biggest customers. Is I just want to let you know, maybe you can come in here, or maybe in sales. Oh, the AR managers, oh my, John inadvertently sent this email to the biggest customer and we knew they were going to make a payment. Can you please step in here? People love that. And what that does, and then how you react to that, is people have no fear in communicating news to you proactively. So here's the mindset: everyone's a human being. Nobody likes to make a mistake. So you need to internalize the emotions, the anger, say, okay, Joe, all right, we know this happened. How are we going to deal with it? And then you should work with Joe and figure out how you're going to deal with it. Not just say, Joe, you cost us all this money. I'm going to tell your boss. I'm going to point the finger at you. You're the worst ever. It doesn't do any good. So if you react in the right way, then people are going to say, hey, Ernie, he's a good guy. Not very many people say that, but I had to say it to myself. So, that builds that trust. And there's nothing more valuable. It's even, especially with your team members. Every group of employees I've had or bosses I talk to, and they say, yeah, they have these secret things about me, and I just don't know that. I wish that I knew them. And in all honesty, the better boss you are, you aren't going to be surprised. You also take that look in the mirror, right, and see what's going right and going wrong. So let's talk about, this is my cheeky part, right, the humanity of technology, right, AI and AR. So technology can help us do our jobs better, more efficiently, which gives us more time, right, to interact, offer more value across the office of the CFO. So let's go ahead and dive down that task. Well, I'm going to share with you some great content from my folks at Esker. They have great thought leadership content. I actually go to their website and read their stuff, and I don't write it. So it's really good stuff. So AI, right? AI refers to simulation of human intelligence by machines, cognitive abilities. So perceiving, reasoning. To me, the big thing is problem solving, self collection, self correction, and creativity. So transformational of AI and AR, we can do this in Treasury as well. And you may automating manual tasks, right? Facilitating decision making. And their productivity side, there's certain errors that are made that it automatically creates, uh, fixes the errors that might be coming in on related to your customers. It can also help routing with GL codes, and so there's a lot of things that go on the treasury side. If you look at AI, it can help us inform cash forecasting variance. Why is the variance there? Or do we have any trends where our customers aren't paying? Do we have any trends by industry? So it's looking at the data you provide and learning from that. So again, a big part of it is really the efficiency side of it. Can it replace jobs? Potentially. Is it going to replace everyone's job? Absolutely not, or it should not. So you should redefine your value proposition and learn how to leverage AI. What's right sizing AI look like in your AR and treasury team? And then take control of that and use the advantages that it offers you to deliver more value to your company, but also branch out into other areas that might be of interest to you within your company where you can add value. So it can be game changing. So just some just some falsehoods that we have, myths versus fact. So there's a lot of text on here. I'm not going to read through all the text. Again, if you'd like a copy of the presentation, uh, please let me know. So again, to me, these speak to right sizing technology. You shouldn't be afraid of technology. You should have the base level amount of knowledge, understand the language. You can have the opportunity to become the leader in adopting technology, or connect with the person that is that leader at your company. Hey, John, I see you're really the AI guy. Can you take some time with me, get me up to speed? And so But AI is not magic. It's not going to solve all your problems. So you really have to right size that as well. It's not evil, but it's not meant for everything. And it can be an extreme waste of time. You shouldn't be trying to program in Python 12 hours a day just because someone on LinkedIn told you you needed to do that to be successful in Treasury or AR. That you don't need to go that far. So this is the human side. I like this. So there's several slides that really kind of get this to the specific role that you have with AR. Chose to focus on AR here. We could do this in Treasury as well. So just some interesting things about, okay, what if you are the credit analyst? What are things like an AR can help you? Collecting and combining invoices, right? Supports the credit teams, supports the application process, supports the flow and the bottlenecks. So it's really interesting to see where this actually fits. Why is it relevant to you? Why it is important to you? Why technology AI can help impact your job success. So when someone says, "Hey, we're kind of looking at AI, we're looking at AR solutions," oh, good. Yeah, let me put my hand up and say, "Hey, can we do this? I heard we can potentially do this." And then I've got an hyperlink there to the white paper that this comes out of as well from my friends at Esker. So we have the credit analyst, then we've got cash application and deduction specialist. So as we saw in the survey results, the Cash App people and deductions, they need love, they need support. This can be an incredibly challenging job without the right technology. It can cause a lot of problems in there. A lot of the friction that we cause on the Cash App side is due to the information that's received. So how can we help get the right information to Tanya? So maybe you still have a lockbox. How do we make that information better? How do we facilitate the electronic exchange of information? How do we standardize that? How do we optimize the workflow? And the AI helps us in those processes as well. It helps Tanya. So if something comes in from a customer, they're trying to apply the cash for a wire, maybe there's some common things that Tanya always has done manually to apply the cash. Well, guess what? The AI is going to ask us, oh, do you want us to go ahead and do this, or to automatically fill those things in, so she's not spending her time spinning her wheels trying to resolve the same issues over and over. If she's already spent an hour figuring this out before, oh, maybe she doesn't remember exactly what she did. Oh, so this is exactly how it works. So makes her more productive as well. Then we have our collections specialist. To me, what a lot of this is about is optimizing the communication, the flow, kind of moving away from this Dunning strategy of just sending out. It's not always, this isn't Dunning's more than this, but it send out the same thing, overdue 5 days, 10 days, 20 days. We send out the same thing, the same thing, the same thing for each customer in each tone, in each tenor. So it helps optimize the process. So what is the right type of communication? What's the right timing of communication? When do issues need to be escalated? Who do they need to be escalated to? So maybe you can automatically say collection issues may often get elevated to the sales guy. So it might automatically say, you want to send an email to John. Automates that, does that, really helps on creating friction, but also in disputes in collections and deductions. So all those things are powerful. And then the AR and credit manager here, some of the things that come to my mind here are things like you're managing counterparty risk, your credit policy, just again, issues that are resolved, just certain things with certain customers, notices that can come up when you're running up against uh, some dimensions of your credit policy in terms of customers, industries, and credit. So those are all things can help automate things. Maybe they're doing a forecast. You're expected to do a forecast in terms of the dimensions of credit risk. How are we doing on Italy? What's our exposure right now? Is it going up or going down? Why is it going up or going down? Do we have bandwidth? We want to start. John wants to do a $5 million order in Italy. Okay, we're going to do this in euro. What does that look like? For everything else, can we support that? What does it do maybe with our natural hedging? And so just showing you, right, the impact on our AR humans, so how it makes their life easier. Again, and then it gives folks more opportunities to build relationships, offer more value. And guess what? It helps you ask the why. And sometimes you can even ask AI the why, and it'll tell you. Just going on a treasury rant for a little bit. When we used to, someone said cash forecast is off. Why is it? And then I'm like, oh man, I had to dig. Now in some solutions, you say, well, why is the cash forecast down 20%? Boom, AI just says, bing, 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 automatically gives that to you. You can give an answer to the CFO in like 5 minutes. It used to take me like 3 days. So again, those are things that we can see the impact on the humanity. Also, technology gives us more free time, gives us less stress, and so that makes us happier people. I don't think anyone likes to stay on the phone arguing with customers about issues, potential issues, deductions, things that could be mitigated. Some things it's just like the asymmetry of information. Sometimes it's just the communication. So everyone can be happier, right? And then we're also going to be able to improve our retention of our clients as well. And then Alice, the CFO, right, at the top level, uh, really the CFO and what we're looking at for reporting is is those macro issues, right? What are the AR processing costs? What is our bad debt expense? What is our DSO? Why is the DSO going up and down? And what AI can do is really create the reports for CFOs that matter. A lot of times when I was doing reporting for CFOs, I knew I was off the mark if they started asking all these bizarre questions. So we want them to be asking the right questions. We don't want the CFO to get a standard reporting package and say, oh man, Joni only resolved 5 issues last week. What's wrong with her? That's really no, that's his manager's job. There's, I mean, so we don't need to have CFOs digging in the weeds too much. We need them focusing on business and strategy. And so AI can help us deliver the right information at the right time to our CFOs again, and also help CFOs ask the right questions that have the most impact on the company's bottom line. So what about touch a little bit about professional development? Let's take a look at skills. So we're talking about your professional development. There's really a couple things going on here, which is not surprising. You have your balance between your technology skills and then your soft skills, which I call human skills. So survey, we had data analytics, data management, AR automation solution, proficiency related AI. So all those are tech related. But then the question is, that's great, but does my company have the right technology? So that matters. The good news is we've seen companies that are investing in AR automation solutions. And so these are things that you should be asking your boss, whether you're in AR and treasury. Just say, are there any skills that you'd like to see me invest in on my own? Are there skills in our department that we need to upgrade on? Then look at, okay, I'd love to do that. And then they say, well, how you can do it. Then you look at specific things that you can do. A lot of courses are free online. There's about 5,000 AI courses if that's what you want to do. There's data analytics. There's a lot of good financial modeling and analysis, and there's a lot of FP&A courses out there. And then we have, which is good to see, business partnering, oral communication skills, written communication skills, right? Relationship building, which are all great things. That's why I have launched the Finance Collective community, which is all about those human skills. And bosses need to find places to send their folks to invest in those skills and not just rely on AR. So I ask folks all the time, CFO, Treasury, AP, AR leaders, how do you get how do you support the soft skills of your team? HR programs, I'm like, finance, we need our own lens. So that's important for you to invest in those. And it doesn't need to be the Finance Collective community, but we need to find ways to have finance talking to finance, treasury talking to treasury on how to develop those soft skills in treasury and AR. How about we have a webinar where we have treasury and AR people and say, how can I get along better with the other party and have those conversations, which we will be doing. So there's definitely been some professional development momentum in the AR space. So if you're in AR, you should expect that investment. So don't be afraid to ask. Take a look in the mirror. These are the skills that I have. These are the skills that I need to have to further my career. And then what's that gap? And then talk to your boss about those things. Don't be afraid if you have skills gaps. They'll love that proactively. Tell me what you need. If you're at the right company with the right boss, they should deliver that to you. So let's go ahead and I'm going to drive through some key inferences here. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and launch a polling question here. I'm going to go ahead and launch a polling question here for you. Appreciate everyone taking the time to answer the polling question, one as a courtesy to me, but also as a courtesy to my sponsors as well. So I appreciate you taking a moment there. Again, if you'd like a copy of today's presentation, please send an email to ernie@treasurywebinars.com. Again, also, if you'd like a certificate of attendance as well, ernie@treasurywebinars.com. I'll do my best to get those out as well. Also, feel free to share what else you'd like to see from us, any types of topics that we have as well. We're only as good as what we deliver, which is valuable to everyone on the webinar. I value the time of each and every person on the webinar. I invest a lot in making sure my webinars are like no other. So thank you, everyone. Excuse me for taking the time. Just go ahead and give me a couple seconds. I'll go ahead and close the poll. All right. So let's go ahead and have some key inferences. Companies face silos within their AR and AR teams, right? Most companies face multiple silos. In general, there's a lack of culture of collaboration within the AR teams, which is a common cause, right? If they're not expected to collaborate, have no incentives to collaborate, same with Treasury, they're not going to collaborate. So that's things that need our attention. It impacts customer relationship, impacts the bottom line, also negatively impacts your career if you allow those silos to exist. And they impact your job performance, right? Let's take a look at those and take some ownership of that. And I think AR professionals need to invest in managing relationships within and beyond AR. Same thing with Treasury professionals. And I believe that we should all take ownership of making technology our best friend while focusing even more of our time on developing our soft skills as well. So let me go ahead and touch on real quick. I want to let everyone know that I've launched Finance Collective community. It's really about the soft side, the human side of all your skills. It's a place for people to grow, go-to resource for human skills, grow, shine, contribute on your terms. I mentioned the webinar before on listening with purpose, really impactful. Again, learn about the echo profiles of your Treasury peers, but also yours truly, because we all know that I need help on my listening as well. In closing, I would like to once again thank Esker. They share my commitment to thought leadership, but more importantly, they share my commitment to impacting the career success of those that use their software. Thank you, everyone, so much for your valuable time. Until next time, make the rest of your day great, everyone. Thank you.